When it comes to EVE Online, every player wants to know the most effective tactic available. You want to know the meta. The meta controls everything. It determines what will and will not happen. Knowing the meta will alter your views, make you question your reality. It might even make you laugh. And now, you're part of it. You're watching The Meta Show.
Good evening, folks. It's Dave. Surprise, Brisc has gone for a walk again.
Heavens to Murgatroyd. Hi, everybody.
I know. I am joined by
What are we
Kazanir.
doing here?
I know, terrible, isn't it?
Welcome, everyone. Yeah, I mean, this is very odd. I've never been here with just one host. It feels like, I don't know, like the day I went to college and my parents weren't there suddenly. This is great. You know, what trouble can we get up to, Mr. Archer?
Yeah, the adults are away. The children shall play. So today we have. First of all, I'm going to mention the giveaway so everybody knows we're doing a Logitech giveaway at the end of the stream. Check out our partners below for some good peripherals. We're going to be giving away a keyboard at the end! !ticket to enter to be in for a chance to win that. But today we are going to be talking goblins deleting posts and coping after not being able to take a fight, and the expansion.
Yeah, big week in EVE Online it's been, huh? I wasn't actually expecting that. As a matter of fact, you might think I know everything having this job, which I hate. I hate my job. But I do not, in fact, know everything. I didn't realize this week was going to happen quite this way. So it's been exciting to have everyone be able to learn a lot about Equinox, right? Which is both the name of the expansion pack and its in-game lore. It's the name of Upwell's nullsec reinvigoration platform and all of this new stuff. So we actually rethemed the Keepstar last night. It ran out of its skin randomly. It was up, and so we decided to do some Upwell colors, and it's a pasty blue now. So we're getting some complaints, but yeah, we're into it. Equinox. Meanwhile, what else happened this week, Mr. Archer?
Well,
tell me about that. I was there. I'm in one of the screenshots, but we'll come to that.
We've got your favorite Fortizar. That was meant to be another huge fight, but you know things don't always go your way, and the hostiles couldn't get the numbers.
What? Oh yeah, we didn't get a fight, did we? So a lot of stuff happened there. So let's catch up to people who are not keeping score at home. This fort is in Amazon. We use it for logistics. Hostiles have made pretty clear that they want it dead. So we've been going up there now. I think this is the 9th time the fort has been saved where it was previously reinforced. We're 9 for 9. We've gotten a couple decent fights out of it. One where we saved it when really didn't deserve the win, but hey, Arcadio's soul, and it worked out. Since then, we've been going up there pretty regularly. We gave him a good drubbing in one dread fight. We took a smaller drubbing earlier this week on the armor timer, and we're like, oh, you know, we need more juice, and then they didn't show, which is pretty much what we expected to happen. I wrote it right in my pre-ping and said, look, either they're going to run away again, or we're going to deal them a spectacular amount of damage, and they chose A. And I understand that. If you don't want a spectacular amount of damage inflicted on you, you know why you would choose A. But then something else interesting happened. As a bunch of Horde members, because they were hyped, right? They had not maybe even directly been hyped, but a lot of people in Horde were hyped to try and get a fight again, because they had just their leadership has been telling them, oh, goons are afraid to escalate. We can beat them with dreads. We can kill all their battleships. They're never going to take a fight, and we can just kill them. So a lot of people were suddenly posting in the Horde Discord, oh, the fort's coming out. Are we going? We're no form, blah, blah, blah. And you started to see a few of these messages started getting deleted of line members, right? And it snowballed. And so we're having fun at the timer. And we decided, because they didn't show, we had a lot of people there, decided to make some space art. I wasn't involved in this, although I am on one of the screenshots. I have a jump freighter right on top of the X, but we put together a little X marks the spot helicopter, and renamed the fort. It's now the Forticopter. So we'll come to that. But yeah, some of these messages, I guess, don't exist on Horde's Discord any longer. Is the idea? So and again, this is all. It feels honestly to me like a bit of a Streisand effect thing, where that this is a thing that's sort of natural. Sometimes you feel like you can't take a fight that you wanted to take. But what has become clear in their communications is that that's not exactly what's going on here. What's going on is that they're trying to waste our time and exhaust our members and play an attrition game. But I don't feel like that works on us the same way. I saw a really funny post from someone on Reddit a few weeks back that said you can't attrition people who like it when you try to attrition them. And I find that to be very, very true about us, because the Forticopter thing, if you can, do you have that screenshot handy?
Yeah, I just got it off IG. Hold on.
We got so much joy out of them just not showing up because they realized they couldn't do it. We slow rolled this for the longest time. We brought janky fleets to some of these timers and had to bait Pappy out in the first place and make them show that they wanted it. But now that we know they want it, every time that they don't show for it, we're going to get to laugh at them. And so there's this whole other narrative that I guess you believe if you're in Horde that I'm trying to follow, and it's not really there because Gobbins is making up some stuff. I don't care. He has this alternate perception of what we're talking about. But the Forticopter is glorious. Just look at it. Why would you not want to be on the side that can construct something like this? It's just fabulous. So, oh yeah, there I am, the neutral jump freighter right there. The person taking the screenshot, I believe, happens to be in Brave, and so my jump freighter on the top there is neutral. So yeah, we love Abzan. We've been extended this like enduring invitation from Pappy to come back every so often, and we're finding out that Losec is very inviting to us.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. They think we're going to burn out, and we actually have. So, if we go back to first of all, here's some of the messages that weren't deleted. But for those that don't know, Gobbins went through, as Kaz said, and started censoring what people were saying when they were disagreeing with them not forming. Whereas in Goons, well, first of all, Jabba, it's impossible. And secondly, we don't do that. If we disagree with what you're saying, we will just tell you as
just call you dumb.
Yeah, essentially. I mean, there's no point censoring you, just educate you in a harsh manner normally, but there we go.
Yeah, it took us a second to even realize. We were talking this morning and we were like, oh yeah, hey, we use Jabber, we can't delete a message.
Yeah. Even if we could, we wouldn't. Yeah, unless it was something that shouldn't be seen, like,
well, right. I mean, it's a problem in its own way. You just gotta ban people sometimes. But
exactly.
It gives you less of this sort of totalitarian control over comms in your alliance. So, and I just thought it was interesting how it all spiraled out of control. I think there's one of these screenshots. It's not this one, but there's another one of these screenshots where some Horde director or some guy who thinks they're in charge says, "Oh, there's a plan, right? You can see the plan happening, right?" And they're practically writing it out that they're just trying to waste our time. So now that we know that, we can at least think about what to do, right? If you're at first, if you're saying, "Hey, we want to fight," it took us a few weeks, but we ultimately decided we'll take a fight. We'll take several over this, and that is very clear to everyone now. And so for them to then be like, "Oh, no, it's time wasting time now," someone might have to do a penalty kick, right? I don't know what form that would take. That would qualify as future plans, but of course we don't like to have our time wasted. But what they think is going to happen is not what's going to happen. They think they're just going to keep wasting our time, and then underpants gnomes, and then we lose, right? But everyone can make choices. So it was interesting to have it get this out of control this week, in a week where they blue balled. It's timer number 9. It could have easily passed with like less comment, but they went hard for the armor and bailed out on Hull, and that got our juices flowing.
I mean, how this has paid for itself like 1,000-fold, I would say.
Oh yeah, I mean the
jeez.
The fort. I mean, it's interesting. It's just a fort. it's very valuable to a certain group of people. It's because of the convenience of it. It's not doing anything that you couldn't do on a jump freighter by refitting, for example, to warp faster. But there have been a lot of Reddit arguments about this. But of course, we love those jump freighter pilots. And the alliance has basically decided, hey, yeah, we can go to bat for them. Why not fight in Losec, right? We don't want to conquer Losec. A lot of people live there that we basically like, actually. Or think of as pseudo friendly. We have no beef, right? So for this to happen and go down this way, right? It was just it's really interesting to see the politics of things evolve. And I think a lot of people were surprised. I think there was a question for a lot of people who are not like goon haters or whatever. There was a question of, are we going to show up? What's going to happen? And that a lot of minds were changed to have us throw down a few weeks ago like we did. So, it's interesting how these things go. Each thing is part of a brick in the overall sort of story of morale and suasion and how your leadership treats you and who's wasting whose time and who's getting the kills.
At the end of the day, alliances are there. This is a game. Alliances are there. FCs are there to provide fun in the game for their members, not to turn around and go, you can't disagree with me. Everybody's a human being. Yeah, there's certain things like I wouldn't ever disagree with you on ISK because I'm terrible with ISK and anything to do with finances, but you are like, the man. But you wouldn't ever delete something I've sent to you, said to you.
Yeah,
Would
I mean,
you?
it just
Like,
the whole
oh,
that instinct comes from somewhere, but it's not a good or a sustainable one when you're running organizations this large. In particular, it's form moderation on the other hand is important.
yeah,
A large organization does need some moderation to prevent like the worst elements from just taking over. But this is an instance where you're seeing the moderation be applied to leadership's priorities rather than applied to the priorities of keep a few thousand people running together in a sane fashion. Right, here's more story time from Gobbins, and his argument is saying that they're deleted pings. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about line member messages and always have been. It's odd. It was odd to have it be this thing and to have them think they're doing something, if that makes sense. They thought they did something. I don't really feel like that's true. We'll see how it
yeah.
goes.
And he shits on us for pre-pinging, but to be honest, it's it's a tiny bit of a trek from Delve. It's not too far, but it's a bit of it's not exactly on the doorstep.
Sure.
And failing to prepare is preparing to fail. The reason why we keep beating them on it, and the reason why we are still in Delve after they tried to get rid of us from Delve, is because we have always prepared.
There's,
That's
I
the
mean,
key.
certainly he's written out here what their whole little plan is. Like I said, you read this and
Yeah.
you're gonna see they think they're doing something. But I don't see that it has fundamentally changed their strategic choices, right? They still are going to need to accept a big fight in order to get what they want. And they have gotten to a point where a lot of their alliance wants that and thought that they could get it. And now it turns out not to be that easy. That has a morale impact, right? Us going up and hell forming an extra couple times, that's not, we're good at that, and now I've got a large number of dreadnoughts and battleships right on site because we planned ahead just a little bit. We thought about this and said, what should we do? Right. And we chose not to escalate and ref all of their crap because they turn out not to be the aggressor. It's Goblins after all. The low sec proxies, these things happen. So we'll consider that, right? We may, like I said, someone may have to do a penalty kick here. It's undecided. But really Gobbins is the aggressor, and you can see how much he cares about it. It's great. They thought they could get it. They thought they did something. So yeah, it's been a very entertaining week.
Yeah, they honestly they need to spend some time in goons to understand the goon. Because also, quite frankly, every time they do this, they are just making it easier for us to do the next time.
It's
So it's
certainly we wouldn't want to be doing what we did this week. every week for nothing. You know what I mean? But they can't. He's jumping the gun, right? To actually pull that off, you have to go make us go and do that thing that we hate for many, many, many weeks in a row with no change. But what he wanted to do here, quite obviously from all the pings, is sit there and be like, "Oh, look what they're doing. That's unsustainable." As if he gets the victory right then, he can snap his fingers and say, "Look, they're doing a thing they couldn't repeat forever. I win. Ha ha ha." Like, we still have the fort.
I mean, at some point, yeah, if this keeps up, then I do believe the fort will probably at some point die. You can't, as you said, we can't always do what we did this week, but at the same time, doing stuff like he's done here is just going to give our members more morale to go and do it again. So by all means, Gobbins, keep coping, because the fort's still standing.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, meanwhile, 2 days before that, some other stuff happened in EVE. CCP has announced the expansion pack called Equinox, and there's been quite a lot of discussion all over that. I was not expecting the level of info they've been sharing, so that's been really cool.
Let's
what
go
do
to our
we
top
got
story.
on Equinox?
Let's go to the top story first of all. So we got the Equinox. I didn't change the yeah. See, this is what happens when Uncle Brisc isn't around.
That's right.
There we go. Equinox.
We'll get to the proper imagery.
So they actually have a YouTube video up, which I have here. So shall we watch the YouTube video first about Equinox? Because I haven't actually seen it yet.
There's two of them actually. We can
Is
do
there?
both.
I've got the one that's on here.
There's Equinox, and then we'll watch. So this Equinox is a trailer for us. It's for it's Upwell to the inhabitants of Nullsec, to the Capsuleers. So let's put that on first.
To shape destiny is within all of us. With Upwell, you can shape the universe. Unlocking the potential of the stars and planets you call home has been the unwavering focus of our finest minds. And now, we stand on the cusp of a new era. Introducing Equinox. An unrivaled suite of solutions for a new age of colonization. Revolutionary structures that offer unprecedented system-wide control, all operated and maintained by an efficient and skilled workforce. Embrace the freedom to shape space in your image and seize the dream of a star system entirely under your command. Equinox from Upwell.
So yeah, we got that one. Bear with me while I switch it to the other video, folks. That's right, we're professional. I swear.
Chat's complaining about the sound quality of the video now. Nothing has changed from when Brisc is here.
Yeah, it's hashtag CCP's fault there, my friends.
So the next video is for the average Joe citizen of the empires in RP terms. Not you, but Joe no one. He's never gone off planet.
Let's go. That should change it.
I always dreamt that one day I'd make it. Do something great. See the stars. But sometimes reality has different ideas. I remember those dreams starting to slip away. Those doors, they never opened for me.
Until now. Because with Upwell, it's never too late. We will give you a new life. A way to make a difference. Our cloning technology will provide you with a second chance. A fresh start. Be the version of yourself you were destined to be. And seize the dream of a future that you've chosen. Upwell.
Or what have you.
Right, we are back, and yeah, so it does seem very exciting, doesn't it, Kat?
Yeah, someone
big
just said in
change.
chat, slave clone labor, go dystopian gameplay, LOL. And I love the second video. I thought it nails the vibe of Upwell. I am suspicious. This is not spelled out. I don't know this for sure, but I actually think all 4 people you see at the end are supposed to be clones of the old man that the video starts with, doing different space jobs of some kind. So like I said, that is, I think it hits the vibe. There's nothing you can lean on where you say, oh, this is creepy, but it is creepy. And Upwell is going to make a profit on helping these people live free of the restrictions of Empire space. Come to Nullsec, see the star cluster. So this is I was really happy with this trailer. I'm a sucker for the lore stuff in general, but for them to get the vibe that good, I thought was very impressive.
The lore always makes good reading, even if we don't pay attention to it in game as much. It's an interesting story.
And of course, you don't have to, but yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. So for those, if you haven't read the blog talks about a couple of new, I guess I'll call them base building resources. There's power and workforce and reagents that come from different planet types, and they have this stuff about the skyhook, they're calling it, a new type of orbital structure that lets you harvest these and bring them into your base building for nullsec. So there's not a lot more detail about that yet, but that I lost my train of thought completely. Right, this video that we were on, that points directly at one of those 3 things, which is the workforce. It's a theme and a lore video about what Upwell is up to here and how this transition in game terms, in game, is happening, how this change is taking place in the context of New Eden, is that Upwell is trying this stuff. And I observed to myself recently that this is actually all it takes for Upwell to become a pretty serious villain in New Eden, is wanting people to be able to live free of the empires, what we think of as a computer space, and to make a solid profit while doing it. A lot of people are not going to like that. So it's really interesting evolution for them beyond the citadels that you know and love to go after apparently the population of the empires, in a lore storyline sense, is very interesting stuff, even if they are clones.
Yeah, because when you think about it, Upwell don't really do anything for the empires. They all have their own structures. I mean, game mechanic wise, it's just a thing there to service the players.
Yeah,
but if they're going to start
that works
in lore, luring people away from Empire space, I can imagine certain empire, especially Amar, would have big problems with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested to really see how the lore evolves there. We don't necessarily really know who they're working with, and I don't track most of this. It takes me years to catch up on the plot line, but I'm given to understand that there's some questions about who is at the top of Edencom and is working with who at the top of Paragon or who at the top of Upwell. And you go back and look at the storylines from a few years ago, and it's like, oh, this random person turned out to be a spy, and they were in these other stories, and only the lore guys are tracking this, but it actually is out there if you want to go follow these little plot lines in the background, which is kind of cool.
onto the nit and gritty of what actually affects the peeps in nullsec. So we've got the skyhook here, which I believe is to get is it the reagents up from, or was that to harness the power? I think it does both.
Oh,
up from the
it's
planets.
yeah. If you scroll down a
Yeah.
little bit, one more in the blog, I think if you're on the /now/Equinox, it talks about the 3 types.
Yeah, so you've got the harnessing the power. Then this is the news article. Then you've got the
Oh,
that
that's a
I
different
believe
blog
is
then.
the I can bring it up in a sec. But
The
they're
other
putting in...
blog talks about 3 types, and it breaks them down with planets, so it's kind of obvious what's going on and it says that you get power either from your sun or from the plasma and storm planets. I think it is. I'm basing this from memory on the blog, right? I didn't know this beforehand. And then you get a temperate, barren, and oceanic are the ones with workforce, it's called, and lava and ice generate these reagents, they're called, which are a resource.
Alrighty, the Equinox one. So
yeah, this is the one that has even more detail.
It gives me very Fortizar vibes, this thing. Yeah, it's kind of the same sort of shape.
So yeah, it's a little bit turned on its side, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought the vid where it shows it in action is pretty cool. They've got some good animation around that. But yeah, these are going to be central. I don't actually know how much detail has been released about them, but I think not all that much.
So yeah, as Kaz said, you've got power, workforce, and reagents. So you're harnessing power directly from the plasma and storm planets, so the ones pretty much that you wouldn't want to be on the surface of, and from suns, so you can anchor them on. Guess you can anchor them on suns, which is interesting. Never really been able to do
so
anything
there'll be more detail about how all this works coming within a few weeks. I don't have dates exactly, but they're going to do their standard, what they call in focus. There's going to be a series of blogs each week about each feature set, and probably then a discussion stream a couple days after the blog hits.
It comes out in June, I believe, is what they said.
Yes, the expansion release date they announced. It should be in there.
Yeah, it's probably at the top. Yeah, June 11th. So, as with any expansion, they'll announce more and more as we get closer to the date. This is just the first announcement. But already you can see that they're expanding the way you do stuff a lot, which I like, because the way you do stuff in nullsec hasn't really changed in the 7 years that I've played this game. It's been the same shit, other than moons. It's the only thing that changed, and that's about to change again.
That is 7 years ago now, was Lifeblood,
Wow, really?
Yep.
Fuck. Yeah.
Maybe 7.5, 6.5, something like that,
So it's basically using what their law says is on the planets, and the suns. So power from plasma, storm, and suns, which, yeah, anybody that likes science fiction can guess how that works. Workforce from the planets that are actually quote unquote populated. So I'm guessing you'll take them to whatever you're, from that planet to wherever you're doing whatever this is for.
I mean, it looks to me like they're thinking these are the types of planets where somebody could live.
Yeah.
Or could accomplish something,
Yeah, if you're a Trekkie, the M class planet sort of,
Yeah, exactly.
like Earth. And then reagents. It strikes me a little bit the amount they're mentioning colonies as a mini a mini game of empire building on a planet. You know what I mean?
It's cool, I think. I think they will spend, I hope, a longer time investing in this system, because it's the bones of what I have seen as fundamental for nullsec since the beginning of my CSM term. At the first interview where I was on with Swift before CSM 17, they said, "What is your final comment?" And I said, "Space has to have value. That's my platform." And that you can see the bones of how that'll take place, and a more complex base building system can emerge in nullsec from what they are doing here, and that's really my hope. And there's a through line that runs from me saying space has to have value to determining how that's going to happen and what are the different ways that a player can exploit their space for value. And that I'm really glad that they got the moon miners in, because that has us talking about the right topic, and people call this passive income. But really all it is the fact that your space is going to have value or can be configured to have value even if you personally don't have time to farm it. Now they've revealed, I think, one of the things about the passive moon miner is that there'll be some discount on it. I think that everyone thinks that makes sense. But that discount, the trade-off you're getting between I have to do it myself and invest player time, or it's something that the space can do for me, the structure can do for me just by virtue of conquering it. That the split between those and the ability of you to do both, I have been telling them for almost 2 years now that they should do that with SOV itself, not just bring back moons, but that if you apply that to everything, it becomes an important natural counterweight to a group really like ours. Or for example, like FRT or like Horde, we're all big 30,000 person alliances now. Where right now we only have one set of predators, the people who come to our space and hunt our people. Eve supports a totally different second set, which is the people who are trying to conquer our space to seize a border constellation and sit on it as long as they can. But then if we show up and take it back, they're going to run away. But it mattered that they kept that space for that time. Passive income, in air quotes, is the key mechanic that can support all of that. But it sounds wrong to such a large section of the player base, and honestly to a lot of game designers, that it's been a long process of talking through how is this going to work and what are the effects going to be. So I'm glad we're here. I said I'm going to stick with my prediction a couple of months ago here on the show where I said this could either be a big disaster or their most popular release in 5 years. I think that's still true. There still are a lot of risks with opening these cans of worms and changing how nullsec works. We know that. We've been there. We've been down that road in a bad way before. But I am glad to see the system emerge, and I feel like it's been really productive talking to them about these fundamentals, and that the key for nullsec is that you can conquer it and that it matters who conquered it on any given day, right? That you can't just get away with ignoring it and have it be a floodplain that no one cares about for a few months. That is, if I could get one thing out of this whole quest, it's that there will never again be someone saying, oh, it's a floodplain, that region doesn't matter. That's really the holy grail.
Yeah, I mean, the other big thing is, yeah, we have the ability in games. So from a resource standpoint, with the moons, for instance, we have the ability in games to hoover up, moon goon stuff, which makes it significantly cheaper for us. But some people may not, because
right, exactly.
They may be being, I don't know, oppressed by Horde, or which seems to be the case a lot of the time lately, or they're just not. There's not enough of them to do that. And being able to passively bring that in again really does help those people get a foothold and get in the game, so to speak, because they can get the resources they need to be able to fight on. And also, personally, I'm a low effort kind of guy, and being able to extract my Mungu without having to actually mine it sounds like an amazing thing.
Sure. And it can't exist it can't exist without its counterweight, which is the active fracking, which is the fact that you can densify a system and do what we like to do, which is build tall, pack as many people as you can, and defend them if hunters come. We like doing that. That's a crucial part of the game. No one's trying to get rid of it. But the passive income is a different type of natural predator in that it shrinks the map. It shrinks the amount of space available to those people because there are other people trying to take it all of the time. And so what I believe will happen if they get this right, and that probably is not something that fully happens in this expansion or even the next one, I can't predict necessarily. But if they do get it right, what you see is the sort of arrow of thermodynamics in Eve terms flip the other way. Right now, when there's conflict, the arrow basically always favors the larger group because they have more excess player time and a lot of stuff. The game is not supporting anyone who doesn't have excess time to invest. This is the way for it to do that, right? To provide an option for someone to say, I can only play this much a week. And I think that talking about that brings Eve could bring Eve into the context of other MMOs in a way that we don't talk about a lot. Really, if you can't play Eve a lot right now, your choice is to join a group that can play all the necessary parts of it and be a portion of that group. But you can't take a group and say, we're going to play the way a raiding guild does in a different MMO where they're playing at 5 hours a week on 4 different days. I played World of Warcraft very competitively, and that was how it was. We had a schedule, but Eve doesn't support that right now because, well, you need a lot of time to play. If you change that, and for those people, it's possible for them to say, hey, we can play at this and this time. I'm going to play with my friends or with the people that I like shooting people with. We're going to conquer as much space as we can, make sure the timers come out in those windows that we can play. Then it doesn't scale with your amount of time available. It scales with your ability to defend that stuff, right? And that's what they should be getting paid for, is the fights that they won to set up the timers where they captured stuff. So it really is fundamental in the bones of EVE Online that this sort of thing needs to exist. Which is, I felt a little bad that I spent so much time on it because historically tons of these groups are our enemies. Band of Brothers conquered the game on these sort of mechanics. They invented renting to do it, to create. Renting is just a passive income mechanic that uses other people's crabs to generate passive income for you. But that's what is needed in order to reverse that arrow, so that when there is conflict, the smaller group often ends up winning, or players, as they decide which groups to join and leave, can go and say, hey, if I join this smaller group, the offer is actually much better because I can play with less people, more people that I think are efficient, the people that I like playing with the most, and we can take our space and still be getting paid without having to worry about a big old tax empire. That's the other portion of the gaming spectrum that Eve has got to support, and this is the path to it.
Another thing they're doing in this update. Oh, go on. Sorry.
No. Let's go through the rest of the stuff before I just keep rambling until the end of the show.
All the goo. Another thing in the new update is they're finally doing something with Solve. They're getting rid of the TCU and iHub and replacing it with this new sovereignty structure. Yeah, the
shub. All hail the shub. Yes, the sovereignty hub is new.
Let's be honest, the TCU has only been relevant for essentially knowing when someone's dropped a pause and flag waving for a long time. We only realised it was for when somebody dropped a pause in the war in Delve, when we went, that's why we're not getting told that.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's interesting news. That's kind of cool. Of course, the TCU and iHub used to be different portions of the Dominion Sov system. Excuse me. And one is sort of vestigial now, and they're planning to change it. So that's cool. What else? What other news is in the blog? Let me check real fast.
We got some new ships.
Ooh, that's right. And there's even more detail than is in the blog. So these new ships, if you scroll down a little bit, these are a traditional set of hauler ships. They're the existing hauler classes. There's a hauler, a blockade runner, a deep space transport, and a freighter. But they are not Empire, they are Upwell. And so they have a special bay on them. This is, I think, it says in the blog, it says, can carry various items related to space infrastructure and colonization, but they cleared us to say this is actually a really good feature. That's really anything nullsec logistics connected, whether that's a raw material, so something like PI, that goes into structures, that fits. Structures themselves will fit. So anything that a nullsec logistics person uses in their day-to-day should be able to go in the special bay of these haulers. These are your Huckleberry. So that's kind of cool news for them. Yeah.
They've got new freighters, and they also have a deep space transport that can have a micro jump drive.
Indeed, right. And what is it? And so all 4 of these have missile combat capability. That's what makes them slick compared to the Tech 1 haulers. It's right in the middle.
Oh yeah, I see that.
The paragraph. Yeah. So they have combat capability. Whether that turns out to be actually tuned very strongly, I can't predict. But they do have missiles, so it should be kind of fun.
I think we should have an Upwell Titan with a Voltron arc as the Doomsday.
Many have speculated. Chat asked, is it jump capable? No, the Avalanche is a standard freighter class. There is no Upwell jump freighter right now.
I could imagine sometime in the future they may, you know, as with anything, who knows what will happen in the future. But
I didn't actually ask, but I imagine if I had, they would have said it's kind of tricky to actually balance something with missiles and jump capability on that ship.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, I didn't think about it all that hard. We'll
That'd
see.
be funny,
Someday there
though.
could be.
Essentially a Phoenix jump freighter.
There's dragons. There's dragons there.
Also looks like they're gonna update the Anoms you can get with the new what are we calling it? A shub?
The shub. Yes, the shub.
We have coined the shub.
I'm sure the old farts will be saying iHub until I die, but it's the shub now.
It's a shub. So yeah, by the looks of it here, they're gonna add more Anoms, whether it's ones you have to scan down or not, I don't think it actually says, and a higher possibility of officer spawns, which that I see as a bit of a catch-22, because yay, more officer mods for my Titan, but for those that officer hunt, you know, it screws their income a bit.
Definitely, I have seen I have seen people complaining about, oh, my officer mods, oh, I was saving them, oh, the AT, oh, that happens. I can't predict if this is really going to have an impact. I don't know jack. But yeah, they're doing this. I don't know if it says specifically, but yeah, a lot of this will be changing. This is a portion of why I've been saying there's a potential disaster lurking here, because they really are touching a lot of stuff. Obviously, they're not trying to nerf nullsec. We've had that chat. But nevertheless, there's always a risk when they touch stuff that we could wake up and all of a sudden we didn't realize it, but winter was coming all along. I don't know, and I'm not predicting that, but it is a possibility among many. We'll see what happens.
And suddenly drifters are attacking your structure.
Please continue.
So yeah, also, now I was half asleep when the initial post came out when I read this, but from what I understand, with the skin editor that you can use for citadels, they're also gonna make it so you can use it on your ships.
Talk about the payoff of the decade for this game. It finally happened. Yes, we're getting customizable skins on ships. All the work they did on the underlying stuff that we saw as part of Skinner to be able to modify colorways and a bunch of other jargon that I don't actually know, so I won't try, is here. It will, let's see, they've got some details in here. Let me make sure.
You can also buy and sell and trade skins.
Cool. Exactly right. So you'll be able to make skins of your own. They can be then created as a skin once the design is made and bought and sold normally in game. This is not an Evermark thing. For those who've been asking, that was one of the things we can say. This is all Plex, just like standard ship skins. So this is CCP. I hope will make bank. We've been telling them to do something like this for God knows how long. So that's pretty exciting. Someone in chat says, I never understood skins in any game. That is okay. Hell yeah. Turn them off. I don't care. But that they exist exactly because of you, the person in the chat, right? The skins exist because the people who do care and are happy to spend some money on that because it makes their game look awesome, and they think that your game is cheaper because of them, right? You have fun. That's so yeah, go ahead.
Also, if I'm going to have a really expensive ship like my Ragnarok, I sure as hell want to make it look different. Absolutely. I want it cool, because is a ship that you keep for a long time.
I actually think the custom skins is interesting because right now there's a collector's element to the skins. That obviously goes away if anybody and their Joe Dog can make them. Right. So I'm interested to see if the old ones, how that ends up working economically. Do they become even rarer and become like a collector's item where you can say, I completed the full original skins line in 2037 or whatever it is? I don't know. I can't say, but I'm really glad they're doing this. I hope they'll make money. Tons of players have clamored for this for God knows how long.
It also adds another
So
avenue for players to make ISK. If you
yeah,
can buy and sell
absolutely.
the
Uh-huh.
skins, and
Yes,
like
if there becomes a mini profession for players doing this, that is absolutely something that I know that they want, right? I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for saying that's not a leak. They would love that if that becomes a whole thing and exists within the sandbox, just like you have, mini spreadsheet people or mini financiers or freight people or spies or whatever, right? All these sandbox professions that exist in Eve's little virtuality, they would love for artist to be one. I guarantee it.
yeah, and like skins, people could become like popular skin makers, and then hey, look, I've got the set of this person's skins. It'll be a new collector's item. It's like collecting, I don't know, frozen corpses. I've got all the FCs in the game. I've got all these person's skins.
Yeah. What else have we
They
got in
are,
here? Oh yeah, there's some Corp project stuff, as a matter of
yeah,
fact.
which I love
Corporation
the Corp
Windows getting an
projects.
overhaul. Yeah.
It makes
That I haven't.
Oh god.
No, you go ahead. Let me
From
read
a
and see what I can say here.
from a Corp leadership standpoint, the Corp project things are amazing. I recently set up a corporation economic zone in DAO for ASCII,
Okay.
and the ability to look at the components I need and then just stick up a thing that automatically tells my Corp I need this many, and I've got this many. I still need this many. Amazing, because it cuts out spreadsheets. It cuts out me having to sit there and go, okay, well, I've been given this much and this much, and ask anyone in
Yeah.
ASCII. I'm not the best person at maths, so I would have screwed that right up.
I'm really glad that they've kept on that, right? They took a lot of time on this Corp window overhaul, but the core projects are not dead. They're getting love. They're getting new types. They've talked about wanting to expand them further in the past and be able to support other types. So I'm glad that they have not abandoned that and that it does work for some of these use cases. We actually looked into trying to use the Alpha Corp for some core project deliveries, and it wasn't quite slick enough yet. But they're working on it, so that's really cool. And the window is one of the ones that didn't get any love in Photon. So it's good to have someone looking at that. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, they also mentioned, so this wouldn't be very good for an alliance, but from a Corp point of view, they also, as long as they don't screw it up, they also mentioned that they're gonna put ways to do SRP programs through the game, which for a
That
Corp is amazing because cuts
talk
out
about a
so
holy
much extra
grail. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I gotta do story time here. So for those who don't know, my group of World of Warcraft nerds came to play EVE Online in mid 2010, and we joined up when this is in the book actually. Goonswarm was down to like 30 people in fleet, so us coming and joining was, they didn't know how to interpret that. They didn't know why we would ask that, as a matter of fact. But I didn't know anyone else in Eve. All we knew was that Goons existed, and we used to be part of their forums a few years prior. So we joined up, and it was 6 months later that Mittens invented SRP, right? Invented mainline, main fleet, everyone gets reimbursement. That didn't exist beforehand, as far as I can tell, in Eve history. That was everyone. And my part in that was to gift everyone a Maelstrom for Alpha Fleet for Christmas in 2010. But what I remember most about it, like it was yesterday, is Mittens saying, I've always wanted to do something like this. You think about that today, and SRP it's been part of how we've been doing business for 15 years almost. It's crazy, So it's I've already forgotten where I was going this because I got too baked before the show.
It's amazing.
With
Essentially.
SRP.
But the ability to streamline it for corporations would be amazing.
Of course. Yeah, that's what we were talking about. Yeah. So the fact we've been doing this thing, we invented this thing 15 years ago, for them to now bring it into Eve. That's the span of time we're talking about, right? Is for that to become something that really everyone does, and that's something that they want to add, is really just
as long
what
as
a
they do it
payoff.
right. that is one thing that
Well,
they could very easily. Yeah, all they have to do is make a way to go. This ship, I want to pay this much. Do it automatic. That's all they. Yeah, just
we'll see.
don't try
We'll see
anything
how it gets done.
complicated.
Yeah.
Touching on the other
that
things
is
real
cool.
quick because we're cutting it but words fine. They're adding more air stuff, so you get more rewards for.
Yeah, the daily goals are getting something of a revamp with a progress track, a little mini battle pass thing. It's not a battle pass. Please don't quote me. That's not what I mean. But it has a little bit of a progression, and you'll actually be able to get a substantial amount more in the rewards if you are logging in and doing your stuff on 2 or 3 pilots on the account. So it'll be. I kind of like it. There's some downsides, right? But it I think is cool for people who are actively like logging in and just looking for something to do that day. That's who this is targeted at. And a lot of us in nullsec are not like that. We always have something we want to be doing. We don't need to sit around. But this is a good thing to a little bit bridge a gap and also offer some extra juice and progression to pilots who are early in the cycle, I feel like.
Yeah, and the rewards now auto redeem. So all your rewards prior to the 20, I think it was prior to yesterday, have auto redeemed.
Crazy.
Which
I didn't realize.
is a lifesaver for me and anyone
no
else
kidding.
with an obscene amount of ults.
Mhm.
And after 30 days, all the rewards will auto redeem. Which, oh my god, because I never redeem them. So if they just do it automatically after 30 days, I'm happy. And I'll just
I
go
better
through and
not
go,
say
do I have
anything.
skill points here? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's some Vanguard updates, which, I mean, I've played a bit of Vanguard. I like it, but I don't think it's at a point where we could nerd out on that quite yet.
I don't think it's far enough to nerd out yet.
Yeah.
I am excited to see Equinox out. And I hope that people can sort of see a vision of how you can have something that to an Eve player is air quotes passive income. For them, it's a potential future timer, right? But that type of thing that we as the crab are not going and exploiting, that is the perfect ground for the level in a different game, right? That is a place where something can happen in EVE Online in a defined time period, and some other game could affect it, right? That's the key, right? People get sort of worried when we talk about like the Vanguard effect or the dust effect of having a different game influence what's going on with you. But there is an opportunity for them to do base building stuff here where that's an integrated part and something that the nullsec player expects because they get paid for it. if maybe the Vanguard player or whatever, whether they succeed, whether they fail, there can be a whole set of rule sets, Again, this is something I don't know jack about, or I wouldn't be able to say more. But I am hopeful that we can see the framework here in front of us, and that's kind of cool, even if it takes a while.
So yeah, I think we've come to the end of Equinox. I'm very excited. I don't normally get excited for expansions because normally for me it's oh look, I'm gonna have to look at how to do this again, or are they gonna change the way I blow other people up and I become Mr. Space Warlord? If not, don't care. But it looks like a lot of it's gonna make my life easier.
It will certainly change the amount and type of things that get blown up and the reasons why. I'll go back to a comment in chat that got asked earlier about specifically the passive income topic, saying it feels like this is reward hooks for the director, for the Corp director, and that's true, and we need to talk about it because it's important, right? There's another way of saying this, which is that like if you provide this passive income hook, what it allows is for the leadership to screw the line member by just setting up their space so that they, as the directors, are claiming all the money from the passive moon or whatever it is, and their members don't get shit. And that is possible under the full flower of that type of a system. And that's not good for the line member, but it's good for Eve for it to be possible because of the arrow effect I was talking about. And I'm going to get into this a little bit. The reason that works is because what it allows is for the smaller group to be more efficient than the larger one. And for the game, in the fact that the smaller group has conquered that space, the game will pay them off for that. And that allows because the larger group otherwise is always going to end up dominating over time. It's not a one-to-one thing. It doesn't always happen. It's not 100%, but over time, the larger group always has more player time to invest, and so they end up winning the conquests and winning the game of who goes where over the long term. And that's what we've seen over the past 7 odd years since Lifeblood. It didn't originally look this way, but now the biggest alliances in the game are very similar to Goonswarm 30K. They're very similar. They have similar numbers of players. You know, even if we do a lot of things differently, that is the effect on the forest. All the forests now look similar. The passive income thing does support something that from a tree perspective, it looks bad to the individual tree, right? It looks like some lumberjack is going to control everything. But what it allows is for those smaller groups to ultimately win their wars. And over time, I think you will see a large diversification of the types of groups that are capable of holding nullsec space. And maybe it won't be for long, right? But the goal is that they can take a constellation. And it matters that they took that constellation just for 2 weeks until the big block showed up and threw them out. The fact that the big block was not there for those 2 weeks, that's got to matter. Even if that small group can't farm it themselves. Right now, they've got to be able to settle the space and farm it, and that's the problem. If you don't affect the map permanently, you might as well have not done it at all. That is the thing that we have got to overthrow. So I hope that made sense. So it does. It looks from the line member perspective like the guys running the show can screw you with that type of income, and they could. But that's also the enabling thing that allows them to screw with the larger block who are their prey, in a sense, right? The border region of the big guy, the undefended moon that's there in Delve while we're out of town, for example, right? Or when FRT is deployed and someone decides to take their stuff in Vino. I could go through the list of possibilities. That has to matter even for the few weeks that they achieve it before the big guy shows up and throws them out, because they always will. And that's why the big guys are always winning, because eventually, what happens eventually is the thing that's important. But that's not how it should be. Both should be important, the thing that happens right away and the thing that happens eventually, and that's what we're trying to get to.
Real quick, before we go on to the end of the show and the giveaway, I just saw a thing saying, sounds like a good way for low sec to fuck with null sec for low risk, high reward. I'm fine with that. I think more people should be screwing with nullsec. Yeah. Am I comfortable in Delve, crabbing away to my heart's content and building like insane amounts of stuff? Sure. However, should I think we should be able to do it that safely? No. We are in nullsec. People should be able to, when we're distracted, like, I don't know, in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, to rock up and go, I'm going to blow your stuff up, take it for a bit, you got to come clear me out. It's like SWATs, you know?
That's, yes, exactly right. That the guy, there's another guy in chat that says this is a way for low sec to fuck with null sec at low risk, high reward. That's absolutely right. It's a different type of predator. There's 2 types. The first, we all know, they're whalers, they're hunters. They come looking for crabs to kill them. But the other type of predator is the type that wants to seize the space. And they just haven't been, they don't exist right now in the way that they should, because the mechanics aren't there for them. And if we can get that back, and people are already talking about this in terms of moons, but like I said near the start of the show, I've been telling them they need to use this base building system and get to that point for SOV so that you conquer a SOV system. And now there's 4 or 5 different ways you can configure that, and some of them support those groups too. Even though, again, people will say the exact same thing. Well, that lets the alliance leaders steal all the money from that system. Yes, that needs to be possible for everything else to work also. So, all right, we got a keyboard?
Yeah, we do. I'm going to play the 2 videos again while I finish getting this up, guys. We're giving away a Logitech keyboard. Let me remind myself which one it is. I've got it over here. I'm a scatterbrain. I'll forget stuff like in 10 seconds when I start talking about other stuff. Yeah, so we're giving away a Logitech G Pro X60 tactile keyboard. Exclamation mark ticket to enter. You've got until the video's finished playing. I'm going to play both of them. And yeah, you have to be in the chat to win it. So we'll be back.
always dreamt that one day I'd make it. Do something great. See the stars. But sometimes, reality has different ideas. I remember those dreams starting to slip away. Those doors, they never opened for me.
Until now. Because with Upwell, it's never too late. We will give you a new life. A way to make a difference. Our cloning technology will provide you with a second chance. A fresh start. Be the version of yourself you were destined to be. And seize the dream of a future that you've chosen. Upwell.
Alrighty, folks, it is time for that giveaway. So I'm going to give you a few seconds to get in on that. Exclamation mark ticket in the chat for a chance to win. Anyone can enter, even INN staff, hence I've entered because I would love a new keyboard. I do have some terms and conditions to read out, so give me a second. Gotta love these T's and C's. Okay, the terms and conditions, folks. So, the winner will receive a tracking number when the product is shipped. Cannot deliver to PO boxes, so if for whatever reason you have your stuff delivered to a PO box, don't. We can ship everywhere except for Brazil, Nigeria, and Poland, which I've always found it highly entertaining that those are the three excluded. I can think of much more worse places. For international deliveries outside of the US and Canada, shipping may take up to 10 weeks, subject to change. Phone numbers are required for shipping. Don't worry, you don't need to put your information in the stream chat. You'll PM me. We cannot resend the product if the delivery has failed and return to Logitech. Deliveries fail due to incorrect shipping information. I can't speak today. No access to the address, or if they're unable to contact the recipient. They cannot resend the product if it is stolen after it is delivered. If you have specific instructions, let us know. Right, there's the legal jargon done. Let's give away some keyboard.
All right, let's do this.
Canada shipping's fine. It's outside the US and Canada. It takes a bit longer. If you live in the North Pole, then that's a you problem. Okay. So let's go ahead and draw the winner, folks. The winner is Mancheetah. Are you in the chat? Do we have you in the chat? I'm going to give you a couple of seconds. And I'm going to draw another one if you don't reply. Hey, there he is.
He's here.
Alrighty.
All right.
I've just wrote hi in chat. PM me, Dave Archer, and I will get you sorted out for that. For everyone else, I've been Dave. This has been Kazan here. Thanks for coming, and hopefully Brisc will wander back next week. We're very concerned. If you see him, please let us know and bring him home safely. He gets very confused. And we'll see you next time. Bye.
Stay classy, New Eden.
And we are out. And on my credits.